Welcome to another travel talk with Selling Travel. Today I'm catching up with Sally Cope, Regional General Manager at Tourism Australia, who's here to provide an update on the destination and what visitors can expect once borders reopen. Hi Sally, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, Jessica. Nice to see you.
You too, thanks for joining us. As we all know, Australia's borders have been closed now to international visitors for over a year. But how is the destination preparing to welcome back visitors from the UK?
It's certainly been a roller coaster of a year. When we initially closed the borders back in March last year, we decided as a tourism board that the most important thing for us to do would be, in the simplest of terms, keep the lights on for the brand. We've invested so much in this market. We didn't want to go dark as a destination brand. So we've maintained an always-on strategy with content marketing, and that's search, social, digital. We've been creating lots of new assets, video assets that our agent partners can use just to keep the dream alive and I guess keep the UK consumer thinking about their next big trip to Australia. That's been our priority. And then at the same time, just staying in touch with all of our stakeholders and distribution partners, travel agents here in the UK, just with all the updates and everything that's happening in Australia so that everyone's in touch with the latest information, and really trying to make sure that, like the consumer audience, that the travel agents are also primed and well equipped to sell Australia when we reopen.
And I know you have a Australia specialist training program. So has that been updated, and have agents been using that to learn more about the destination?
Yeah, well, it's actually twofold. While we've been working behind the scenes this year, that's one of the major projects we've been working on, a massive upgrade of the Aussie Specialist online training program. So we'll be launching in the next couple of months a new platform for this, which is going to have a lot more dynamic information, new training modules, lots of new stories there. So that's really exciting. While that's been happening, our Aussie specialist trainer here in market, Alison Lee, has just been so creative with the different online virtual sessions that she's been doing, and just different, everything from quiz nights to, first point, how to sell Australia, to real deep dives for specialists who know what they're talking about and need to know a little bit more. So lots and lots of training happening in the last 12 months.
Perfect. And touching on updates, do you have an update for us as to when the borders may be reopening? Is it this year? Is it next year? Do you have any idea?
The government has made it pretty clear that the releasing of travel restrictions will happen in line with the vaccine rollout in Australia, and also, I guess, in other countries around the world. They have been really cautious throughout the last year, which is why we've managed to contain the COVID pandemic so well down there. So, I mean, baby steps, really. This week, we've opened up a quarantine-free travel bubble with New Zealand. So people can now travel freely between both countries. Step by step, I imagine that will start happening. And I think it's good news that the vaccine rollout's happening so efficiently and quickly here in the UK, because that stands the UK in good stead for being, ahead of the queue as far as opening up to come back. There isn't an official government announcement. I would personally guess that it will be early next year, but it's so hard in this environment to predict everything that's happening. So
yes, yeah, everything's changing at the last minute, but we can only hope that we can come and visit as soon as possible.
That's right.
And when we do eventually get there, Australia, it's huge. It's such a vast country. So do you have any itinerary suggestions for agents that maybe aren't familiar with the destination and are looking for first-time visitors?
Sure. I mean, the first thing an agent should do who's not familiar with the destination is, of course, register and sign up for the Aussie Specialist Program, because this is where you get a lot of the more detailed itinerary planning knowledge from. My advice to a first-time traveller would be, don't try to do it all at once. Australia is a vast country, as you say, and if you look at a map of Australia and overlay it on Europe, we pretty much stretch from the UK all the way over to Turkey. You know, it's
mind-blowing. Yeah, it really is. It's just...
So I would say very much look at a client's interests and what they're interested in, and then building an itinerary around that and doing it in bite-sized pieces, because we know that UK travellers go back again and again. Our repeat visitation from this market is very, very high. So a first timer is always really attracted to the icons. That's where you get the classic itinerary of going into one of the gateway cities, say Sydney or Melbourne, then out to the outback to Uluru, seeing that vast sky of the outback and really, I guess, touching into a little bit of Australia's Indigenous culture. And then going up to maybe the tropical north to Queensland, where the Daintree rainforest, which is World Heritage tropical rainforest, is side by side the Great Barrier Reef, which is just amazing. So that would be an iconic first-timers journey. But then people who are going back and back again, we find just exploring deeper throughout the country. There's so many aspects of Australia, from the wine country. There's great vineyard areas close to a lot of the gateway cities. So whether it's Margaret River south of Perth or the Adelaide Hills just behind Adelaide, you can get some fantastic wine growing regions. Lots of amazing walking destinations, so where you can do multi-day hiking throughout Tasmania is one of my favourite things to do. There's obviously fantastic flight connectivity all across that traverses the country, but you can also do it by rail. So the Indian Pacific from, say, Perth all the way over to the East Coast, or from Adelaide up to Darwin. So lots of ways to traverse the country.
That's a great way to cover a lot of ground, I guess, going by rail.
Exactly.
And just to follow on from that, we're noticing pent-up demand for these big bucket list trips, because everyone's missed out on a year of traveling. And Australia is definitely one of those that falls into that category. So you mentioned some of the, your top highlights, but what would you say for someone who is looking for that bucket list experience? What would the itinerary look like, and what are some of those activities that you must tick off?
I firmly believe that one of the greatest things about travel is the people you meet, and understanding a little bit about the culture and the lifestyle of a place. And Australia is very fortunate in this market, because we are really familiar to a lot of British people, because there's a lot of Australian culture on the media, and a lot of Australians that lived here in the UK. But it's when you have those true sort of local experiences in Australia, meeting people, I think it's almost, I would recommend to absolutely everybody to have some Aboriginal experience while they're there. So, and that doesn't necessarily have to be in the depths of the outback. That could be in the city. We work closely with a collective marketing group called Discover Aboriginal Experiences, and they have over 50 different Aboriginal owned and operated tour operators all over the country. And it's those kinds of experiences that you can really pepper an itinerary to make it uniquely Australian. And really adding a memorable component of the destination when you're there.
Perfect. And along with the Indigenous culture, what else typically draws people to Australia? We have to talk about some of the wildlife. It's both intriguing and scary.
Yeah.
No, but the wildlife. obviously the spectacular scenery,
Yeah.
and the food and drink also. So tell us a bit about those themes.
It's interesting. We do consumer research in the UK every year, twice a year, just to really identify the touch points of why people would choose Australia as a destination. And that's exactly it. Nature and wildlife is always number one. And they are icons. So people are visiting Australia to see our really unique wildlife in the wild, whether it's kangaroos, koalas, quokkas on Rottnest Island. The quokka selfie
big
is
smiling quokkas. They're so cute.
And there are so many national parks and locations around Australia where you can see wildlife in the wild. Kangaroo Island, just south of Adelaide, is a great example of that, where it's quite a contained natural environment where you can see so much of our iconic wildlife. So very much that nature and wildlife and the vast landscapes is very popular. But also we're a large island, and it's all the aquatic and coastal experiences. We were just discussing Byron Bay. My background here is the lighthouse at Byron Bay, which is the most easterly point of Australia. Wonderful for surfers. It's, surfers' paradise in that part of the coast, from northern New South Wales going up into southern Queensland. The Great Barrier Reef, people getting out onto the reef, scuba diving, snorkeling, and so on. They're the kinds of things that are really appealing to a UK traveller. But then I think it's interesting, in a post-COVID world, we've noticed coming up in our research, people are looking for places that feel safe and feel secure. And I think the way we've managed the last year will hopefully stand us in good stead for when people are choosing a destination in the years to come. They want the wide open spaces and to get a bit of elbow room, reconnect with nature, and feel that they're in a place which is safe and secure for them to do that. So
definitely. And are there any exciting new developments that visitors can look forward to early next year and beyond?
Yes. Well, I mean, it's been really interesting because when we closed the borders and travel restrictions came in place last year, Australians weren't able to leave the country either. So as a National Tourism Board, we have run a big campaign really encouraging Australians to take their holidays at home this year. Australians are great travellers and do lots of international travel. But this year, our domestic market has really kept our industry vibrant and alive. And despite the fact that we haven't been able to welcome international travellers for a year, there's been a lot of product development, experience development, new hotels opening. In fact, it's quite surprising how much has happened in the past year. So what we do is we have on our corporate website a trade resources hub where people can download, we call it the hot list, and each month we're publishing the hot list of the new hotels opening because there has been so much development in the last year. So there's lots, which is good.
Okay, perfect. Great resource for travel agents then.
Yes, absolutely.
And you mentioned, we've obviously touched on how you've been working with the trade. What other support are you thinking of having? Road shows at some point, offering fam trips? Is there a particular focus for 2021 that you're trying to kind of push?
We're trying to grab a window of opportunity now. So we have been doing quite a lot of training when people have time to do the deep dives on product training. When we launch the new Aussie Specialist platform, we'll have a series of events around that for sure. And then as soon as we're able to get people down there, we will reinstate our ongoing FMIL program for travel agents. It's one of those things, it's nothing beats the face-to-face experience and having been there, and we're big advocates for that. So that is absolutely our intention.
I think everyone's desperate to go there and see it themselves. There's only so many virtual tours you can do.
I know. I
But
know it's been tough, hasn't it?
yeah, to see it, I mean, I think is the best way to sell it. So fingers
Totally.
crossed that can all pick up again next year.
Yeah.
And finally, just, in terms of comparable to other big, 2-3 week trips, why should agents book Australia when borders can reopen?
I think it's going back to the points I was mentioning earlier about what will clients be looking for in a post-COVID world. And there's a few things out of the UK market. It's interesting, there's a lot of travellers from this market who know Australians. So it is reconnecting with friends, family, having that, yes, just that reconnection of contact with people that you've missed. It's reconnecting with nature. And I think the vast, wide open spaces in Australia are going to be incredibly appealing. And a lot of the products where you can almost, I guess, travel in your own bubble with a bit of flexibility, whether that's camper vans or hire cars and so on. It's just being able to hit the road and have that freedom after a year of, restrictions to our lifestyle. The sense of safety and security. So even though it's a unique destination that has its own personality and characters and crazy wildlife, it does have that sense of familiarity as far as people and security around just getting around. So I think they'll all be really appealing. But then the other thing that I'm a big advocate for is just the concept of maybe people will want to take longer, more meaningful trips rather than, the regular sort of fly and flop mini break. I'm really hoping that what this experience has done for a lot of us is made us really aware of the value of travel and taking longer, more immersive trips that sort of you can get an authentic experience from. And Australia's just got so much to offer in that.
Definitely. Well, I think there'll be a lot of pent-up demand for hopefully this time next year when we can travel again. Thank you so much for talking to me, Sally.
Thank you for your time.
And hope to see you at a roadshow or training event soon.
And hopefully you'll be able to get back to Australia yourself soon.
Yes, fingers crossed. Surfers Paradise is calling me.
There you go.
Thank you.